Hello. Thought I'd make a update video on the character I was playing in the previous video. This is the Occultist. Playing Reap. I was using a Sanguinate for a bit for mapping, but I don't really like it, so I've stuck with Reap. I thought I'd go over the character. I think I've got it to a position where it's pretty acceptable to make a video. I think there's a lot of issues with it before. I didn't really want to bring a video out without sorting those problems out when playing it for most of today. Did a bit yesterday. So going over the tree, this tree is quite weird because of how I have a relic. One of the anointment, I have pain attunement on my relic, but this is the best way to path at my level. I might make changes to it when I hit level 100, but tree does it quite strange. Obviously one of the most important things is we're in Occultist stacking power charges, so you need a militant faith with the high Templar Dominus modifier. I've gone for one with area damage and effect of non-curse auras per 10 devotion. You also want to make sure it doesn't brick any of the nodes we're using, so I'm using Cruel Preparation, Infused Flesh, Discord Artisan, Breath of Rhyme and the Cold Mastery. This one's bricked a node here and a node here, as well as Zealot, I believe. So I'm not using any of those. So that's why I've gone for something like this. You can POB it really easily. You can just copy the item in, and POB will tell you what nodes get bricked and what don't. This is quite expensive. I picked up for like 5 divines, but a lot of the items in this build are fairly expensive because it's sort of, I want to just juice it up because I really like Reap. I'm a bit bored of Tornado Shot. Taken the Chaos Mastery, taken both of them, Corruption, Heart of Darkness, and then the Chaos Mastery for Effective Withered. And I've taken a large dual socket here, and I've gone for a 12 passive dual socket with Life, Chaos Res, attack and cast speed, and just increased physical damage. And then I'm running Storm Shroud with Corrupted Blood cannot be inflicted on you, so this is to get me Corrupting Blood immunity. This is the only real option I could get it on, at least for the price. And then I have a medium cluster here with Towering Threat and Vast Power. So the added small passive is not that much important, but life per second is the best option I could get in terms of defensive properties, because I'll go into that a bit later. And I path all the way down here to get Sovereignty, pick up Purity of Flesh, Power Charge, and then this life node here. So the reason I have gone down here and out of my way is because I actually need the strength from this node, but the outcome is fairly good. So ideally at level 100 I'll be taking this life node, and I'll be taking Arcane Potency. So that's 99, and then the level 100 node will probably be just the life here with the devotion. I think that's the best option I can get. However, I may try out taking the one with evil down here to get the avoid being stunned, because in combination with my boots I will be stun immune in maps, but I think 80% is fine for the time being. I've also picked up Leaf Shade, so this was a suggestion from a friend of mine. He's been pretty helpful with getting the build sorted, so I thought I'd mention that. He's helped quite a bit in terms of what I can do to fix the defense. So Leaf Shade, you take 50% less damage over time if you started taking damage in the past second, 100% more duration of ailments on you. So obviously I'm immune to bleed and corrupting blood. Well, I'm immune to corrupting blood, and bleed doesn't do much because I'm out regenning it. I'm immune to all elemental ailments because I'm using a Storm Shroud. Obviously you get the chill and frozen immunity from being an occultist, but I get the shock and ignite immunity, and obviously that grants the immunity to the ground effects as well, which is really, really good. So obviously with no ailment effect, the 100% more duration of ailments is basically being removed besides poison. However, I have 70% Chaos Res and a Progenesis, which is pretty much always up in mapping, so obviously I'm over 75% Chaos Res, so that removes poison damage significantly. And I've picked up Ghost Dance because this just gives you so much defense if you're evasion based, and obviously this character is evasion based. I don't have auras on actually. It's probably an important thing. So yeah, as you can see, 22k evasion. I did try and fit a jade flask in place of a quartz flask, but as you can see, if I take the quartz flask off, I have spell suppression problems. I can't do anything about that because so these gloves are fairly shit, but all the suffixes are taken up by mandatory stats. So I need the lightning wares, even though it's a shit roll. I need the dex, and obviously I need the temple mod, which gives damage against shield enemies, so I can't really do much about that there. I'm running the original sin. Obviously that was like the main premise of the build, running original sin to convert all my damage to chaos. And what we're doing with the original sin is we're running hatred. So hatred gives you more cold damage, and 26% of physical is extra cold damage, and then all of that damage is being converted into chaos. And then we're combining that with a heat shiver, which gives us gain 100% of cold damage as extra fire damage against frozen enemies, gain 1% of cold damage per, and then gain 1% of cold damage as extra fire damage per 1% chill effect on the enemy. And obviously then we're combining that with an expedition's end, which allows you to freeze with all damage, and you freeze chilled enemies as though doing 94% more damage. And when you're using a skill like Reap with such a high base damage and such a high scalability, you're freezing targets very, very often. You're freezing most bosses. I did a few Uber bosses earlier, and the damage is absolutely insane. Using a void battery, obviously maximum power charge, increased spell damage per power charge. I've gone for the area of effect per quality, and the reason I've done this is because it makes your AoE radius, you get 1 AoE radius, and AoE radius on Reap makes it really, really good because you have higher potential for the 4x overlap, which is another reason why I've gone for towering threat and vast power, just because it gives you so much AoE that you don't have to do any of the weird tech to get the overlaps, which is really, really good. I have anointed charisma, and I'm running the mage blood shield, just a +1 power charge, just power charge base. Everything else about it is irrelevant. It was a cheap power charge base. It just happened to be 3 synth implicits, spell suppression, fire res, crit chance of spells, and then a open prefix for fizz as extra chaos damage. In terms of the auras, got an enlightened 4, petrified blood, hatred, and grace, and I have a +1 maximum power charge heat shiver with a 30% mana reservation efficiency enchant. So this is like pretty much impossible to buy. I had to run lab for it, which was pretty miserable. So I ran lab to get my own enchant, but it's pretty mandatory to fit everything in. Shield, I got Frostblink, Arcane Surge, and Anomalous Withering Step. So Wither is incredibly strong with Wither in combination with Original Sin is a really, really strong combination, which is why Anomalous Withering Step is mandatory. And as you can see, additional effects from equality inflicts 2 withered debuffs for the first time an enemy enters the area, so you're instantly getting this 2 wither stacks, and on top of the Occultist ascendancy, which withers nearby enemies, it's a decent amount of damage. My cast when damage taken setup is a level 3 immortal core because it's getting buffed to level 4 in combination with increased duration, life tap support, and anomalous cast when damage taken. So anomalous cast when damage taken gives you increased skill effect duration from quality, so I'm getting 20% from that. Obviously I'm getting 74% from increased duration support, so that just gives you much more uptime on immortal cool. Obviously we're not generating endurance charges, but we're just using it for the buff effect. So 26% less elemental damage taken, 27% less physical damage taken. For the gloves, I've got Divergent Herald of Ash for the AoE to get a bit more clear. A normal Herald of Ash is fine, I just wanted the AoE on the explosions. Shield Charge, this is just movement ability, faster attacks linked to shield charge. And then I have Divergent Assassin's Mark, so the alt quality on Divergent Assassin's Mark, hits against cursed enemies have a 0.2% critical strike chance. So that is global critical strike. So Divergent Assassin's Mark is really big, because that adds an additional amount of crit. Flasks, Progenesis, Diamond Flask with crit suffix, Jade Flask with an evasion suffix, Silver Flask with life regeneration suffix. So life regen is very important, I'll get to that in a second. And then just use standard Quicksilver with movement speed. The main reason we want life regen is because we are combining it with these in life, so damage taken recouped as life, so combining it with these, so we get over 25% from this, which mitigates the 25% life loss from the Progenesis. And then we're combining Progenesis with Petrified Blood, and then we're using Petrified Blood to give us overleech. So if you have less than 50% mana, less than 50% life reserved, so you can have 49.9% life reserved, and you will then get overleech. So as you can see, I have 291 total life, and I'm reserving 2,165. So if I cast Reap, as you can see, my life does not regenerate to above 2,178. So this is because you're getting overleech, and obviously with the relic I'm getting pain attunement, which gives you 30% more spell damage, and in combination Petrified Blood and Progenesis gives me around 20% increased effective HP. Obviously using the Mage Blood, it's a good item, I won't say anything else. And then my amulet, like I said, I have Charisma Anointed +1 level of all skill gems as a fracture, and then I basically crafted this by using crit multi essences until I got crit multi and life. I then crafted cannot roll attack mods, and then I used the harvest bench to roll so it's a remove a mod and add a mod. So I had to hope that I would remove a mod I didn't want, and add physical skill gems. I added physical skill gems and removed the dead mod. I then crafted all res, and I slammed it because I had an open prefix. I did slam tier 1 accuracy, but I don't think it's very useful to anyone, but this amulet's pretty good. I would recommend, if you're playing this base, to craft on a dex and strength base and not a dex and intellect base. I was just being cheap when I started making the character for this base, and it has definitely caused some problems. That's pretty much everything for the character. Level 95 at the minute. I am going to be leveling Pantheons. I've gone for Soul of Lunaris because I have the boot enchant to avoid being stunned, and I've gone for Soul of Grokful for the physical damage reduction for each hit I've taken recently, and enemies that hit me have reduced attack speed. So this is just because we're regenning and recouping life as well as benefiting from overleech. So anything that can sort of reduce enemies hitting you after they've hit you gives you another layer of defense. In terms of mapping, I will just do a Conqueror, I suppose. Let's do, I think Drox is a good one. Let's find a good map. Let's just do a Molosseum. I'm not going to bother with rolling any mods. I do have some Sextants on there, but I'm not too bothered because I'm just going to do a map showcase. I'm not going to go into the Atlas tree. My Atlas tree is a bit scuffed. It's just a map showcase. So the clear is really solid, even with Reap. There is a couple things that I've had issues with in terms of, just I had a lot of issues with damage over time. I have tried messing about with alternative solutions to Reap, but I personally really enjoy mapping with Reap, and I think once you get enough AoE, Exsanguinate is just excessive and you just don't need it. As you can see, the clear is really solid. Overall pretty decent clear. I haven't tried any juice strategies. I've just been doing the Mausoleum strat. It's been fine. It's been a bit slower than Tornado Shot, but the overall playstyle is really nice. I've also done some delve, and I'm thinking about leaning towards doing some delve content. As you can see, the Burning Ground does sort of create some issues. but we have so much life regen and life recoup at this point that it's, you know, damage over time is not too bad, especially with the combination of Leaf Shade. One thing you can do to be a bit more point efficient is you can put Leaf Shade on your relic and save an additional point. I'm not going to take that altar because it's both bad. So you can put Leaf Shade on the relic, save a point, and then take Pain Attunement on the tree, which is something I'll be doing once I hit level 100 when I get to the point of min-maxing the build. The main downsides of this character is definitely damage over time. It's a big issue, which is why I've gone for Leaf Shade to sort of counteract that. I didn't know that Leaf Shade worked the way it did, so I'd never looked into it, so I'm very grateful for the assistance and my friend pointing that out. Just for the map boss, for example, you know, basically, you know, two-shot him. Overall, the damage is absolutely ridiculous. There is some stuff that is fairly annoying, but yeah, as you can see, you know, the damage is just outrageous. Let's see if I can get the overlaps. Once his energy shield is gone, with and then Assassin's Mark. As you can see, it absolutely melts bosses. It's, you know, got a very nice amount of defense, loads of recoup, loads of regen. Very solid build overall. I will be getting this character to level 100 at this point, I believe. It's going to be very hard to die on this character, especially when I get 100% stun immunity. Yeah, if you've got any questions about the build, any questions about how the synergies work, Progenesis and Petrified Blood is a very annoying mechanic to get working. I have, you know, 5,000 hours on this game, and I had to find multiple workarounds. The best way to counter Progenesis properly, from what I've seen, is life recoup, but life recoup itself is pretty terrible. It's only really beneficial for the Progenesis, and you don't really want to go over the amount of recoup that you need to counteract Progenesis, because at that point I think life regen is better. Yeah, that's everything. I'll probably make another video when I get 100 to go over like the fully fleshed out build, any upgrades I buy. Another major thing at the end of the video is I'm using Divergent Void Manipulation for Leech, and I am running Vitality on hit, and I have Spell Suppression whilst affected by Grace because I need Spell Suppression. However, if your Spell Suppression capped, you want to replace this with Hatred Crit and then possibly drop the Diamond Flask for a Jade Flask. That's pretty much everything, so if you've got any questions about the build, please let me know.